until we are in the portion of answering questions. So now that it's recorded, I will start. Welcome to Minneapolis, the City Tree Program. Request for pre-proposal meeting. My name is Kari Manzor. I'm a project coordinator, and joining me are my colleagues Sydney, Frier, Hannah, and Levon, and they will be assisting within the presentation as well. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please enter it in the chat, or we can wait to answer the questions towards the end. But we want to make sure we capture all the questions and we have the answers, as well as the questions and answers will be shared for the rest of the folks who couldn't be here, as well as others. If you are interested in knowing more about the RFP process, like up to date, Sydney can share the form. We have a form where you just enter your name and email, and we can send you like the most current information, as well as this PowerPoint, the recording of this PowerPoint, and the Q&A document. So, welcome. We do want to give a big thanks for community groups who have advocated for the to cover the cost of private property tree removals for low-income residents. We were very fortunate to be awarded by the USDA Forest Service grant funding to support to cover the cost of private property tree removals, but as well as supporting community engagement. This RFP is one of many activities within the grant that it supports. So funding from the USDA Forest Service grant and the Climate Legacy Innovation dedicated for the city of Minneapolis. These funds are going towards the tree outreach RFP. We will have we have a total award of $300,000. So applicants can receive or propose and receive $20,000 to $100,000 within the funding period. This funding is really to promote and increase engagement, outreach, and education around tree benefits and other tree topics. We're really looking for new approaches, new innovation around the following, but not limited to education on emerald ash borer, education on the benefits of trees, tree maintenance, watering, treating the trees for pest and disease, any tree removal, as well as providing private property tree watering services, workshops, resources on tree care, and as well supporting our existing city tree program. So this is where our we hope this funding will go towards around this. So before I jump into the details more about our RFP, we do want to highlight these key dates here. They're very important. So we have May 14th. That is the last day you can submit questions for the RFP. We will try our best to respond to the questions as soon as they come in, but the last day to answer would be May 17th. So the questions and responses will be posted on eSupplier as a PDF document. So the questions from today's meeting and any other meetings will be posted. Then May 28th is the due date for the proposal. It's very important to submit the proposal before 2 p.m. We do encourage those agencies to even submit it a day before, so May 27th, just because we know that there's technology issues that come up, and we don't want you to be last minute and not being able to submit your proposals. You created great work, and then it's 2:01, and then we can't you can't submit your proposals, or the internet crashes. So we highly encourage you to submit a day before, so May 27th, if not before the deadline at 2 p.m. So 1:59, 1:55, that's the time we would like. Then we would be reviewing that time frame from May to June 25th would be the award recipients announcements. This is where we announce who we are going to choose and award. And through all that, then the work will start August 15th. So the project will start August 15th through December 31st, 2025. So it has a year and a few months that this work can be done. With that said, we'll jump into applicants' eligibility. Here's with the city, any applicants are eligible. Those organizations or other entities for nonprofit or for-profit. If you have a fiscal sponsor, that's allowed as well. Something that the city highly requires is that projects must take place in Minneapolis. So let's say your organization isn't located in Minneapolis, as long as it serves all the residents in Minneapolis, that's perfectly fine. We just want to make sure that our residents are getting served from the project. Meet the city contract requirements, meet the city insurance requirements. Any proof of commercial general liability insurance is required at time of the contract. So even if you're awarded and you don't have any of these requirements met, we can't move on. We can't move forward with the process. So making sure that you have these requirements in place. So going into what we're looking for within the RFP is engagement and education around trees, around tree benefits and health. So this project proposal should focus on outreach and engagement, really focus within the green zone neighborhoods, and or target Black, Indigenous, and people of color or low-income residents. So for those who aren't familiar with green zones, these are areas here within the map that you see with high levels of pollution and other environmental issues. We here at the city are working with residents to achieve environmental justice and activities like this to reduce those impacts. And within this RFP, we really want a new approach, new ways of engaging and educating our residents within the targeted neighborhoods or just within Minneapolis. So projects can be, but are not limited to any type of format of education. This can come within in-person education, workshops, virtual, social media, video, art, you name it. We want to see the creativity of you all engaging community. It can really focus within cultural focus on tree education, treating trees for pests and disease, invasive species, impacting tree canopy, watering best practices, rain barrels, winter tree maintenance, pruning, tree removal, tree planting. Also beyond education, like providing private property tree watering services. Overall, we want kind of a sense of building this community collaboration within the organization, families, neighborhoods, cultural groups, increasing that awareness of the benefits of trees, and then as well as how to care for trees. So that's what really overall the RFP is looking for within proposals. So now I'm gonna go into, I don't know why it's flipped around. I've moved it multiple times, but we'll look at in eligible expenses here. We'll highlight things that this funding cannot go towards. And this is purchases of equipment. So like removal of a big tree. We're not supporting, this RFP is not supporting removal of trees. So no heavy equipment will go towards this. Tree planting projects are not part of this. So if you're hosting a planting workshop of demonstrating of how to plant a tree or remove, that is allowed as a one single thing. But if you do post like, we're gonna plant trees at a park or our neighborhood. This RFP does not support those expenses. They won't support those expenses. So gravel bed constructions, tree removals, any activities that occur before the start date or after the program will not be supported. So making sure that the funds will go towards August 15th to December 31st, 2025. And as well, payments for participants in any activity. Per state guidelines, funds cannot go towards gift cards, payments, any type of cash is not allowed. And if your budget does contain these, please make adjustments or amendments to your budget and reallocate those funds to show that the funds aren't going towards participation incentives. What is eligible expenses? This is direct expenses are examples like supplies, materials, printing, tree supplies like watering bags, tree guards, etc. Training and workshops, any tools that you'll use for those workshops, outreach, engagement, education activities that promote environmental justice and equity, payments for work and services performed. So this can include paying a contractor, a facilitator, translation services. Note when you do write payments of work and services in the budget, please be as clear as you can, like putting the hour rate, how many times, what the time commitment, as well as ensuring that it meets the city minimum wage. And I think the Minneapolis increased to $15.19 an hour. So making sure that it also aligns with our city policies. So for example, like if you have 2 winter tree maintenance workshops, so it's like $25 per hour. So in total, that whole workshop for that facilitator would be $50. So that detail would be important in the budget. So, and the eligible expenses, we support administrative costs, but no more than 10% of the total. So anything that does space rental, insurance, utility, that is administrative costs. So now that you hopefully have a better sense of what the projects are eligible for this opportunity, I'll share with you what you should submit for your proposal. So in the packet, there is components. We upload it individually, but when you submit it, we want you to submit it as a whole one PDF form. So this is the cover sheet, the project narrative, the project budget. Within the project narrative, we provided a Word document template to work off of, and later within the presentation, I'll kind of show you an example of that. Making sure that the narrative is 6 pages, 12 font, single space, and then in the project budget, we also provided an Excel document template. Please use those. Those are very helpful and easy to straightforward for you to type in and then submit as a one PDF form. We also ask applicants to provide their financial information, and this can be uploaded as a separate PDF, as we know that this can be a long document. So that can be uploaded different at a separate. And these financial information, one of these is acceptable. It could be the most recent high-level audit report, the current 990, the board approved financial statement. So any of those you can upload with the proposal of the PDF. I know there's questions in the chat, and I'll respond to it at the end. Yeah, I see it. I see it, and I acknowledge it. So within the project narrative, we have these categories here, and it says Agency overview. So we want to hear from your agency, kind of know the staff, the people you serve, the importance of environmental justice. If you have an arborist, if not, then are you willing to work with an art arborist, and resources? So just kind of overall, what is the agency's history and background? Then we want to list here the project summary. So overall, what is your proposal? What's the project? What are you going to accomplish within that year? And then there's another portion where it says project plan. And this kind of it's kind of a work plan where it breaks up like the goals, like what will you accomplish? How are you going to measure that success, as well as like tracking and evaluating those success? The strategies, what are activities or methods you're going to use to increase outreach and engagement? How are you going to achieve your goals, as well as location? So where is this work going to take place? Such as like, is this in a certain neighborhood, zip code? Is this a certain community that you'll be working on? Really be descriptive of where this work will take place. And then the time frame, just overall giving us kind of a highlight of how long the activities will take, how long would it take for you to achieve the goal, the timeline overall of the project. So that's kind of the project plan that we would like to hear from you. Here's an example of the Word document that will that you can go in. So as you see, there's the questions, and then there's blank space where it says click here to type your answers. In the white space, this is where you're gonna put your answers to the questions. Please make sure not to remove any questions or not to remove information from the blue boxes, because when reviewers review your proposal, we want to align your answers to the questions. And it goes as well with the work with a project plan. I provided an example of like how it, the project plan would look like, but please delete that example and enter your personal goals, and you can add roles or delete roles depending on how many goals you have for your proposal. So this is the example that you can work off of and then do a PDF form. And this is a project, the project budget Excel sheet as well. We kind of put it in categories here where it's the salary, the program and supply expenses, the administrative costs, and then the total. So just kind of there's categories, and within the descriptions, like I mentioned before, if there's facilitators kind of saying they're getting paid this much amount for these many workshops, kind of in that description, and then the total on the side. So we know when we're reviewing, we can look at your budget and it matches the work plan that you submitted. After May 28th, then we'll have the review and evaluation. The submitted proposals will be reviewed by a team made up of city staff and community reviewers. Their scores will be guided by the evaluation rubric that's in the package. I think it's attachment E. You can see an example of what you'll be scored on. Your presentation, your proposal will be scored on, but we're really looking for, we'll be scoring the project description, the project plan, the outcomes and impacts, like how many residents you reached and was there an impact, as well as your experience and capacity, and that alignment within the budget and the project plan. So I know I did a lot of talking, and I'm going to turn it on to Levon, and he can share more about the city e-supplier portal, and this is submitting your proposal submission. Levon, do you want to share on the e-supplier portal?
Actually, I'm driving. I just come from work, so but I can just mention some few stuff that they need to because all the proposal needs to submit electronically. That's one thing most of the suppliers don't know about it. So what they do is they send in emails. You cannot send your proposal through the email. You have to send electronically. And also, if you give me 1 minute. Yeah, if you already are already a city supplier, you should have received an email containing your e-supplier user ID. If you are not, then you have to go into e-supplier portal and register, please, ahead of time, because sometimes what happens is like when it's too late, when it's late, so you cannot get access, and at least it takes 48 hours to e-supply, e-procurement to respond to you. So please register ahead of time. That's one thing. And late proposal cannot be accepted. So your proposal, you have to submit your proposal on time, otherwise we will reject it. The third thing is, okay, hold on. Yep, you can register. And if you need help with registering to use the e-supplier portal, you can find a written or video instruction at the Minneapolis.gov/finance procurement e-supplier portal. And you can also email them, the e-procurement, or call them at phone number 612-673-2311. So please submit your proposal on time. If you are not a supplier, go ahead of time, register and obtain a bidder ID. Once you get a bidder ID, then you can bid on those RFPs. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Levon, and safe driving. Thanks for sharing. And once again, like Levon said, please don't wait until the due date to register or apply. Just do it a few days before, register, and to get familiar with the system, the portal. If there's any questions, to reach out to us, and then submit 1 day before, so May 27th.
Could I jump in really
Yes,
quickly for
Priya.
one extra
Yes.
comment related to this? So if you look at the RFP document itself, under section 5, there is a section on the proposal submission instructions. So there's a table that kind of walks you through the registration process for eSupplier that you'll need to do ahead of time before you submit your proposals. So that kind of outlines that process. And then also, again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to procurement to get any technical assistance you need. But I did want to note that it is in the RFP document as a resource for you to get registered.
Thank you, Priya. Well, that is the end of my presentation. I do want to give space to answer the questions in the chat, as well as have kind of more of a conversation to provide those answers to your questions. But I do want to thank you all for coming here and listening. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email us at health@minneapolismn.gov. Or if you want to know more up-to-date related information to the RFP, you can scan the QR code on this slide and write your email and name, and we can provide that information. Reminder that the deadline for questions is May 14th. So feel free to, if any other questions come up, email, and we'll answer those questions and share it online. So with that said, thank you. And now I'm going to move on to the chat, but you can also unmute yourself and speak up on the mic button or raise your hand and I can call on you. Nicole,
do you want to start with Nicole and then I can go through
Yes.
and read out the questions in the chat? Okay, go ahead, Nicole. Thank you. I had a question about the administrative expenses calculation, and if there's like a certain calculation that you would want us to use to show what our administrative expenses would be for the grant.
Yeah, it's any amount that you're proposing. So if you're saying you're gonna you want to receive 20,000 or 100 or 50, it's 10% out of that total amount you're proposing, you're requesting, if that makes sense.
Yep, that makes sense. Thanks. And then I just had another real quick question about so if we say, like, if an organization applies for the full $100,000, is there the opportunity to be awarded a grant or awarded the grant at a lesser amount, or is it just that amount and you're judged on, that amount only, and if you don't, succeed, you're out? I'm trying to kind of get a sense of, like, given that there's $300,000 and the max amount is $100,000, like how many organizations you might be looking to fund, and then how, like, those determinations might be made. And apologies, I'm coming down with like some sort of like cold, so I hope that made some sense.
It does. No worries.
Okay.
I hope you feel well soon.
Thanks.
Yes, our team, we're looking to award 4 to 12 depending on the proposals. I think we're looking more at a big portion is the work, the project plan. I think there's like 50 points towards that. Trying to see how much engagement and outreach is being done within community. And let's say if you do go at a higher amount, but we realize that some of this work can be done at a lower, or we want to award more recipients, we'll work with the organizations to adjust the budget. But that is a conversation that the team will have further discussions. So it's not like we're gonna completely take someone out because the amount is a lot, and we'll work around.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey there, this is
Sean,
Sean.
yes.
Calling from the south side here with Corcoran neighborhood and working a bit with Powderhorn and East Phillips. So one of the questions is that there are certain neighborhood groups that maybe have never done any work on tree outreach before. And so, but there's other groups like Tree Trust that have been doing it for many years and have figured out a lot of good ways of how to do it. Or like Loring Park, that's been cranking out a lot of good work. Especially Kesley Freilich is the chair of the Citizens for Loring Park Community Board. So I'm curious, how can we, one idea would be, how do we connect neighbor groups that want to work on forestry with groups that have experience or know what the heck they're doing, to try to team up or try to copy what they're doing? Or I was suggesting that we could maybe start meeting quarterly with all the neighbor groups working on tree outreach, with the Hennepin County people, the U of M forestry outreach people, city and the tree trust people like that. But I don't know if you have any other ideas on how groups that haven't ever done anything on trees could learn what are good things that would make a difference to do and how to do them.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm gonna go back to Sydney, and she can help me co-answer these questions. But I think what we do want, you can put that in your work plan. If I'm wrong, Sydney, please correct me. But that could be part of a work plan, is like engaging with organizations or subcontracting with organizations that might not have those many years, like Tree Trust, and that can be part of your proposal as well.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a part one, part two. The first part is, how do you get the groups to know what to put in their strategy thing, because they never worked on trees before? And then number two, could you have number of groups underneath one proposal? And let's say you wrote it with Tree Trust, and then Tree Trust would give out sub-awards to different groups they're working with that want to be part of it. So there's kind of a free grant thing, and then also could you apply together as a collaborative thing?
Yeah, you all can definitely apply together. We would just ask that all of the partners would be identified in the proposal at the time of submitting the application. And then, Sean, it is one of our like longer term goals for the City Trees program to, especially once we have our arborist on staff, because right now we don't have an arborist within the health department. So right now we're the community organizations will either need to have an arborist on staff or be willing to work with our arborist in order to develop the materials to make sure that everything is accurate. But it is one of our goals in the future to be able to kind of like do what you're talking about, where organizations that have great connections with their community, but maybe aren't as knowledgeable about tree related topics, to be able to partner them with either our arborist or tree trust or different organizations that already have a lot of that information and kind of help guide them to develop similar programs.
And there, just one last related one is, I think the city and the county will have different outreach processes or with the park board to notify residents if their tree is being condemned and, you know, how it'll get replaced and all that. So how do we know with our neighborhood groups when the park board or the city or county will be doing outreach in our neighborhoods, like condemning trees or contacting people to replace a tree or trying to plant new trees that need watering? How will we know how to coordinate when and how the city and the park board and the county will be actually doing work in our neighborhoods that we should coordinate with?
That's
Yeah.
a great question. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead,
Sydney.
Kari. You want me to go? Okay. Yes. So for this goal, for this RFP, the goal is for private property trees. But we're working closely with the park board with the federal grant that we received for private property tree removal. So we'll be able to connect any of the organizations with any relevant information they would need to know about that.
Great.
Looks like you're on
Especially
mute,
if there's
Sean.
a bunch of people in your neighborhood getting their trees condemned, we should know about it in advance or something so we can talk to them right away so they don't freak out, you know.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yes, and like Sydney mentioned, those who are awarded will be working with them to provide resources and how to share that information within their neighborhood and communities. So once we have our arborists and kind of more, we identify those awardees, we'll work closely with them. So thank you, Sean, for that questions. Those are really good questions. We have another one, Mitchell?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm just a little bit confused. So this is nothing to do with the money that was acquired, the 8 million. This is a separate RFP.
This is a portion of that fund. Within
Okay.
the 8 million, there's a few activities, and this is the community outreach portion.
Okay, so is health department kind of merging with MPRB in this, or standalone? Are you just health department by itself?
So the grant is in partnership with MPRB. So we have $200,000 this year going towards outreach and engagement that's coming from the grant. And then we also had $100,000 of dedicated city budget that was going towards tree outreach and engagement. So this year we'll have $300,000 total, kind of coming from a mix of city and grant funds. But this RFP we'll be working with the health department.
Okay, yeah, it's just because it just seems like with the funding that they have and stuff, this would just be like the park board's job, you know, because like we've been doing a lot of this work for them already, and I appreciate this opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but they're not exactly the best at sharing information and data, so it's kind of hard to do outreach where we're not getting information, clear communication. I can't even get an email back, so it's like to do effective community outreach and to know that we have the accurate information. If the information is not coming to us or it's coming late or we can't trust it, that's kind of a major concern that I have. So is there anything in place to address that where like you can work with the park board to get that information or you have it? Because we want to be ahead of this, you know, we've been behind this the whole time, you know, and we would like to be ahead of this. And we have partners, university partners that can help us with it. But we just need better collaboration with the park board, just to be transparent and straightforward, because otherwise we're just throwing away money. And that's just my honest opinion. I mean, I've been asking for the public tree inventory forever now. I can't even get that, so I'm a little concerned that, and I can just kind of echoing what Sean was saying. It's very, yeah, it's crucial that in order to have these partnerships that we have this information. I'm just still kind of confused with the relationship between the park board and the health department in terms of this. I know it's going through the health department. Is that okay? I'll just end there. Sorry, I'm just sorry.
No,
Hopefully
that's okay.
just a ramble with no.
We have a park board person on the call right now, so whatever Phil could talk, we have a park board guy on the call right now.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so this RFP is obviously being hosted by the health department. So, but by the nature of the work with private property tree removals, since the park board is the entity that condemns the trees, we would be working with them for any relevant information that's needed on that process. But this goal is more to do some proactive outreach. So proactively identifying ash trees, talking to residents about their options for treatment, removal, all the things like that.
Yeah, because I'm just going to be straight up. I mean, I know that Metro Bloom's got a list from forestry that was like mostly addresses in Northeast and like wealthier areas and like 2 or 3 from North. So if that's how this is going to be, that's a problem.
Yeah, so the goal with this would be to be more proactive. So like you all being with Harrison Neighborhood Association, for example, to like host activities or education proactively, even before people are having a tree condemned, to be able to do some of that education up front, even before the process even begins.
Is there going to be a process for the city of the university coming up with a map of the private property ash trees, like using GIS or something? Because if we could get that kind of a map, it would be extremely helpful. Otherwise, we'd have to have volunteers going around trying to identify all the ash trees in a neighborhood on private property. But is there research to get a decent map of both the boulevard and private property ash trees?
At this point, no. We know there are so many ash trees on private property, and we really just don't have the capacity to do a private property inventory. So some of the things that we were thinking would be more of hosting community events or workshops, trainings, going to existing community events like the ice cream social for the neighborhood or different neighborhood association events, and being able to talk to people about options for their trees at those sorts of events without needing to specifically say, here is an ash tree on your property and here are your options, meeting people where they're at to be able to share some of that information.
We've talked to some partners that are working on this, and they're having a hard time even finding ash trees on private property that haven't been condemned. So I guess I just have a lot of concerns with this. I mean, we need accurate, up-to-date information in order to do this. And as much as it would be nice to do this and to do this outreach, which we want to do, this should have been done like 12 years ago. And so it feels like almost a distraction, where it's like we've been doing this work, we've gotten to this point, and now we're being asked to do something where we already know people have already been harmed by. So I guess, we have partners literally that are out here trying to find people to test trees and stuff. And they're like, we can't even find many. And I'm worried about oak too, like this. I mean, I feel like that's next. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of concerns. If there's not going to be transparency, and not with the health department, but if they're not going to be transparency with the park board, there's almost no point in doing it.
Yeah.
And you need like up-to-date, accurate information, and I don't know, Philip's on this call. I don't know why he's not saying anything, but. Sorry, that was like a weird way to end it.
No, we hear you, and we know that this funding is one little portion, one activity of a larger conversation, of a larger system that we have to address as community, health, and park board. And I really do appreciate the concerns and the questions being brought up. And I know that it's not all going to be covered in this meeting, as this is just really on the RFP information around the community outreach, but we do want to continue those meetings that build that relationship and that transparency within health and park board, and we'll do that within other realms. But at this time within this meeting, it's information around the tree outreach. So thank you, Sean and Mitchell, for sharing that, and we'll be engaging more. And if the park board doesn't want to speak up on this one, that's perfectly fine. We'll connect again and collaborate. But I do appreciate all the concerns that have been brought up. Any other questions related to the tree outreach RFP?
I'm deferring.
There was an interesting. Go
I have
ahead,
a
go
question.
ahead.
Oh, yep.
Does anybody know who did a Freedom of Information Act based on conversations between me and Mitchell and the park board?
I will turn it to Sydney. Maybe she would know more.
No, I do
And
not.
why would a Freedom of Information Act be done on us when we're not the ones scamming our community? I just don't understand. Is this intimidation? This question is for the park board. This is being recorded, right?
Mhm.
Yes, it is. Roxanne, I'm sorry, I don't have more information on that.
Will somebody get back to me on that? Because that feels like COINTELPRO.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. We can connect on that.
And just another question about the issue of treating trees, whereas the park board really believes in pretty much chopping down diseased ash trees in certain neighborhoods. Like Lauren Park have been, treating some bigger ash trees. I mean, my neighbors also treated some elm trees and stuff, but it's a different process. But I'm not sure if there's any conflict between people trying to treat bigger private property ash trees versus the normal Minneapolis and Hennepin County policy of just working on trying to chop down the ash trees because they feel sooner or later they're going to die.
Yeah, one of the things that we just want like it to be included with the information about treating the ash trees is kind of like exactly what you're saying, Sean. Treatment will have to be repeated every couple of years. Just because a tree is treated once doesn't mean it may never need to be removed. So just making sure that people have all of that information to inform their decision, and then working with a licensed arborist to perform the treatment, but taking all of that information into account to make their decision, if it makes sense for them to treat the tree, if it makes sense for them to remove the tree.
But this is not, would this pay for any of the treatment of trees, this grant, or would we have to come up with other money to do that?
The outreach of treatment, but not the actual cost of the treatments themselves.
And another question I had was if we did wanted to plant some trees on private property like they do with the Rondo Green, do you have other ideas of where we could get bare trees, or like how to access trees if this grant can't pay for them?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that, Sean, if you have some ideas for planting, definitely.
Well, thank you. Any other questions before we wrap up?
I just thought I would chime in. This is Philip Hayandi with Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. I feel like what we're here for right now, my understanding is an RFP for outreach related to urban forestry. And so if folks want to connect with us and me about urban forestry and our work, I'm happy to have that happen, but I don't want to, it didn't feel appropriate that this is a Q&A about our work at this time.
Are you talking about what I just said? Because what you think is appropriate and what I think appropriate, it would be different.
So I'm going to defer to Sydney and her other colleagues at the health department to lead this session.
That probably would be a good idea.
Thank you, Roxanne and Philip. And like I shared, this conversation, as I'm new, this is a conversation and work that we have to continue going, and like right now, this is for the RFP, but we will continue to connect and build that crossover within the park board, health, and community. So I really appreciate everything that has come up, and I'm not totally 100% know the whole situation, and I'm happy to meet with community partners and understand and seeing that connection. But this is one component of the whole umbrella of the grant and the forest and city tree program. So I really appreciate it, and hopefully people can connect outside of this meeting as well.
Just a quick note, the Hennepin County project on this is so amazing, where they have a lot of great educational events coming up on community forestry and tree identification. And they will have some kind of an RFP coming out of Hennepin County maybe later this summer. And so I just think we should team up all these different educational resources, like the University of Minnesota training for the urban tree care advocates, so to get more people to know, like basically how to identify ash trees and elms and oaks, and to tell if they're having trouble. But there's some excellent trainings out there, but we need a tripod between the university, the city, the county tree trust, because there's a bunch of knowledge, there's a bunch of trained volunteers, but they're not connected together. And we should get these tree volunteers active in every neighborhood that have already been trained. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, with that said, if there's any other questions related to the tree outreach, please reach out to health@minneapolismn.gov. These are questions that will be answered from us and posted in the e-supplier for others who couldn't attend to this meeting, for them to review and have when writing the proposals. And I'm very excited and looking forward to all the submissions. Remember that the deadline is May 28th. We encourage May 27th if you can. And as well, reach out to us. And if you have further conversations outside of what we had today on the tree outreach, feel free to reach out to either Sydney, myself, Kari Umans, or at Tree Health at Minneapolismn.gov, and we're happy to connect, sit down, and have a conversation. But I really do want this RFP is really to increase that engagement with communities and residents in unique way to bring that, create more of that strength within the community around tree health. So I really appreciate you all taking your time this evening to attend the pre-proposal meeting. So thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Good night.
guys. Yep, have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So Kari, is there anything we need to do for downloading the recording before we leave?
Yeah.
Or is that the last step?
That is good question.
Hey, I'm confused, Sydney. That meeting, that was about an RFP process for community to do watering and tree care, like trimming.